Hello there. You have your ticket? You don't have one? No problem. Just hit the subscribe button below and come on in. Hi everyone, DFG here with Gideon's Flight. I love to say that. I always get tongue twisted with hit the subscription button, but please hit the subscription button. Anyway, just want to take a couple of minutes of your time, share some things that are important, and just update you in my little small way of keeping you informed. Ronald Reagan used to use this term, and I don't know if he coined the phrase, but he would use the term trust but verify. And that's something that I always have kept, close to me, being, a professional person, someone who has been given the opportunity to lead others. I've always understood the importance of, listening and getting information, but also making sure that, those facts line up with the facts. And, what I'm saying? So, it's about trusting. There's nothing wrong with trusting, but you definitely need to make sure you have did the heavy lifting in validating what you're being told or what you believe or what you may think is the truth, maybe versus what you believe. All right, there's a way that seems right to a man, but that way leads to the destruction of a man. That's a proverb. And so, as I think about that, another thought that comes to my mind, or a quote that comes to my mind, is that, some people are good for company, and then there are some people who are good for counsel, and a wise man or woman knows the difference between the two. Okay? Who are the people that you can invite over for a beer or a cup of coffee versus who are the people you're going to invite over for a crisis? Okay, something that's extremely important to you when you're looking for for information, you're looking for some direction, you're looking for some guidance, right? And knowing the difference between the two. Interestingly enough, I'm sure you guys have heard about the 2020 campaign and all these people running in, and throwing their hats in the arena, especially on the Democratic side of it. And it's funny that as you listen out there on the web, and a lot of you guys who listen to my channel, I'm sure you're listening to other information channels as well. And most of you probably are somewhat familiar with this American Descendants of Slave, ADOS is the term that's being used. And it's interesting because, I heard where this came from, at least the new version of it. I mean, you'd have to be pretty silly if you didn't know that so-called African Americans, copper-colored people, who are here today, for the most part, many of them are descendants of slaves. I mean, it didn't take a genius, to figure that out. And so someone who just happened to bring that up, as far as plateaus that go along with that, it's kind of like, I guess you need to be, I remember a while back, a child had participated in something at school, and so they got a participation award. Not that they had accomplished anything. It's just that, well, we're going to give you a award for participation. Sometimes you hear people, going out there and laying claim to different things, or something like, who coined American descendants of slaves and who has the right to talk about it or who doesn't have the right to talk about it. It can get pretty simplistic and pretty asinine if you want to know the truth about it. And, I heard a particular guy, and I don't want to get into who these people are, but pretty much was saying that one group of people on a morning program weren't qualified to talk about, a subject because they weren't political science like him and another person were. So since one had gone to, I want to say, it was one of the California universities, and the other one had gone to Howard, that somehow that they could talk about issues that concern people of color, but the guy who went to night school, you follow me, he couldn't talk about it for some reason. He couldn't question a politician about it, which in my opinion was an asinine statement to make, because whether or not you went to college or whatever, what that has to do with you knowing what the concerns of the people are and how to ask a question. I didn't have to go to college to ask somebody a question that was important to me. You know what I'm saying? But again, that's where you get, this confusion come into play. And that's why we have to be careful to understand who's people that we should be inviting over for a beer and who are the people we should be inviting over, for insight. And I think it's that important. Again, I was going to go into the whole 2020 election and the Kamala Harris and the whole Cory Booker and, Elizabeth Warren and all these individuals who are running over there. But that, to me, that's just rhetoric. At the end of the day, whoever their nominee is going to be their nominee, and whoever you decide to get behind, if you decide to participate, you know, in the exercise called, the national elections, then go for it. But at the end of the day, remember, you don't determine that anyway. Electoral votes determine who's going to be your representative in terms of the presidency of the United States. So, so to me, that's kind of, you're majoring in the minor, so to speak. And again, no disrespect to obviously people, copper color people who were enslaved in America, in terms of, what is owed to them. There is a debt to be paid there. And I am a proponent of that debt being paid. So I don't misunderstand me here. I'm just not a proponent of this rhetoric around who coined something and who has a right to talk about something and who doesn't have a right to talk about it. You follow me? At the end of the day, if your ancestors were enslaved here in the Americas, if your ancestors were indigenous people here in America, hundreds of years ago, and suffered loss due to the expansion of America, and you weren't compensated, or their children weren't compensated, then there is a conversation there, and there needs to be some reckoning, with that fact. And some of you guys may get a little antsy, little pissy about what I'm saying, but again, I'll tell you, it's easy for you to say it because you're not on the other side. And you're not the one that's walking in, our skin in this particular instance. And we've heard people talk many times about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. And my family came here and they worked hard, and we didn't get a free ride. And I don't disagree with that. But did your family have to deal with racism? Did your family have to deal with Jim Crow laws or black codes? With the Ku Klux Klan, riding up on your dad's porch, knocking out windows and trying to burn down the house because he said that he should have the same rights, as the white guy down the road. Did that happen to your family? Were your loved ones lynched just because they looked at a white woman or whistled at a white woman? Did that happen? Was your church burned down because they thought you were having meetings in there about uplifting your people? Did that happen? Were your children getting blown away in churches in places like Alabama just for attending services because you wanted to send a message to, because somebody wanted to send a message to you that, your advocacy around, having the same rights in Birmingham, to shop where you wanted to shop, be employed in places where you should be able to be employed since you were paying, taxes in those cities? Did somebody come and blow that church up and kill your children or your friends' children? Did those things happen to you? Because if none of those things happen to you, then you shouldn't be relating yourself with our experience. You should respect our experience. And you should understand that there is a grievance there, a justifiable grievance. And if it had happened to you, and it had happened to you for centuries, I can assure you, you wouldn't feel any different than ADOS, okay? And the indigenous people of the land, the copper color people of this land. You would have the same similar argument. And, you guys have heard me say this before, America, the land, it is a land of milk and honey. It always has been. It's probably one of the most desirable places on the planet, talking about the Americas, even including South America. Those are great lands, beautiful lands. You know what I'm saying? Lands that have all the seasons. Lands that have rich soil. Lands that have great waterways. Land that has a diversity of people. From the Mayans to the Incas to the to the Aboriginal, native people, to the people of the islands, the Tanos, Puerto Rico, the Haitians, the Dominicans, Jamaicans, it goes on and on and on and on. That it's the Western Hemisphere. It's a beautiful, beautiful land and a beautiful, beautiful country full of beautiful, diverse people. So it's worth fighting for. It's worth taking a stand for. And I can understand why anybody would want to be here. But what we don't understand is why there's an argument about the compensating of the people who built this land. I'm talking about from the bottom up. I'm not talking about people who were grafted in. I'm not talking about people who were given a foot in, through the Dawes Commission or through the Homestead Acts of the late 1800s, where they were given free land. The land was free to the immigrant, to the European immigrant, but they were taking land from the natives to give that free land to the immigrants. They were moving them off the land and then moving them in the land to, again, to expand America. Those are the people who are now saying, look, it's time now to reconcile this situation. If you want America to be a great nation, you want America to be whole, then you have to come back and redress those issues. You have to come back and do the right thing by those people. And it's no different than what America has shown itself willing to do, for the Jewish people through the Holocaust and the reparations given to them. No different than they've done for, the Japanese Americans, through giving them reparations for the internment camps during World War II. And many, many others. And what they've done for themselves through redistricting, redlining, grants, welfare services, social services, etc., to help them with loans and things that they need to have to be able to build their own legacies. Legacies that for a long, long time only white people could take advantage of. And I know that might make some of you guys squirm in your seats because you're poor and your family's been poor. Well, I understand that. And nobody is denying that. But you didn't have to go to racial bigotry in a land that's your original land, the land that you helped build and make great, and others came in and saw the greatness of it and prospered in that land, and you were not compensated for that. That didn't happen to your legacy. That happened to our legacy. And again, that is what this whole conversation is about. And quite frankly, I don't see America moving forward, in any beneficial way, any kind of progressive, substantial way until this is dealt with. Because the more informed the copper color people of America, formerly known as Turtle Island, the more informed we become, the more, entrenched we are becoming in taking that position. We don't hate you because of your color. You might hate us because of ours. But we are saying to you that we're no longer going to let you mistreat us because of our color. We're no longer going to give you a free pass in the injustices that happen to us because of the color of our skin. We just, we demand, to be taken, seriously. And not only that, but we demand to be taken and treated with the utmost respect. And again, recognized for the hard work of our ancestors, and we still carry that work. And I know you might say, well, how are you guys carrying that work? Well, we're at the lowest end of economic totem pole. You heard Elizabeth Warren. She did a video just recently. Talked about the average white household in Massachusetts. For a small example, I understand that, worth $250,000, and the average black family in Massachusetts worth $8. I did say $8. $250,000 and $8. And if you think that injustice happened because somehow or another, one's pigmentation gave someone a better work ethic than the other, then you've heard me use the term before. I have some oceanfront property in Arizona. I'll sell you for, real cheap. You're not being as right as you can be. Let me say it that way. And I'm being kind to you. So the ADS conversation is not going to go away. And, at the end of the day, you need to pay what you owe, America, to the children of those who you enslaved and you built, this country from the bottom up, that you have not at any point in time come back and given them, redress that issue or giving them redress to fix it. King talked about it. We're talking about it. And we're going to continue talking about it. Thank you for listening. Talk to you soon. DFG. Bye now.